Hello, we are live. Welcome to the show. I am Michael, aka MTJ Disorder. We are going to be doing something brand spanking new tonight for all of you fine folks. It's called Metal Mondays, a show essentially where we discuss and shoot the shit on all things metal. More specifically, Canadian metal and the Canadian metal scene. I'm joined right now by my fellow bandmate and great friend, Phil. Say hello, Phil.
Hey, what's up, y'all? Metal Mondays. Let's get it.
So we're just going to jump right into it here. I think the best way we can get going is to introduce ourselves. Everyone who's following obviously knows who I am, but I will go into a little bit of detail on my metal background and my musical background. So for anyone who doesn't know, Phil and I are in a band together called Skullsplitter, which is an Edmonton-based band. We play, you like to call it old school thrash slash melodeath, right?
Melodic death metal with some elements of thrash. Although we kind of go all over the place. We're still, to be honest, we're still finding our sound. You know, it's what happens when you have a new band.
We've been together now 2 years, roughly, give or take a month or so.
Year and a half.
Yeah, and so I'm the lead singer of the band. I do also help out with the writing and the arrangements as well, predominantly writing the lyrics. And Phil, what do you want to go ahead and give us a little breakdown and introduction to yourself?
Yes, I'm Phil Rock. I play guitar, and basically, I joined Michael and Trevor, the other guitar player, about a year and a half ago. Basically, I bought a big amp and I couldn't find a place to turn it up. So I went looking for a band, and the rest is history.
So what can you tell me about your background? How long have you been playing?
Oh man, I come from I wouldn't say a musical family, but a very musical dad. So basically, my dad always had guitars around. So I tried picking it up at 7. Still wasn't there, but my ear was working. And at 10-year-old, a 10-year-old is when I started to really pick up the instrument. And since I played in all kinds of band, classic rock, blues, indie rock, I played in jazz, orchestras, I played in everything. But metal's always been my favorite. Since my first show at 10 years old, I got to see Metallica. And fun fact, it's the first time I saw a titty. Yes, sir, at Metallica show. So the next day I was like, hey, yeah, this is for me. So never looked back.
And how many bands have you been in the past?
I've been in. I for the first 20 years, I always played with the same bassist and drummer, and we went to different configurations, so maybe like 3-4 bands with these guys. And other than that, I had projects with other people. I had a more serious project in 2009 called Emery Street with Montreal singer Seb Black, absolute genius. Look up his stuff if you want Seb Black. It's not metal, but I brought in some metal elements to kind of a folk indie rock blues vibe. It went in straight to that hype, the Arcade Fire and all those indie bands at the time. But in the background, I was always playing metal, always listening to metal. Metal has always been my true love, going to metal shows. And I had never been in a proper death metal band before joining Skullsplitter. So I played in trash metal bands, but really death metal band, like going all out and really trying to top ourselves skill wise and brutality wise. So I'm never going back. I really love this shit. Hey.
Yeah, and it's interesting because you and I have a very similar journey to this point, other than the fact that I don't come from a musical family. I'm the only person in my family for generations who has any musical talent, so it's it's a little interesting that I was even able to find a way in. But once I started playing, I never looked back. But I began originally my roots were in rock and blues. My very first band was a blues rock band. And it wasn't until I got a little bit more courageous with my playing that I decided, hey, you know what? Now I can do these things. I'm gonna try to start a metal band. And my very first metal band was Boulder Fist, and it's still technically around. It's a little bit on, it's kind of a mainstream rock metal band. It's not It's not 100% metal with some thrash elements. Oh, we got a newt in the chat there from Trevor. So our other guitar player is sitting there watching and checking us out. That does remind me.
What up, Trev?
I have got to bring the alerts above the cameras real quick. 1 second. Sorry, growing
it's the first show. Anything can happen.
Yeah,
anything can happen.
These are little minor production tweaks that I have to keep an eye on. So anyway, yeah, I bounced around from band to band for quite a few years, mostly because I really wanted a collaborative effort. I wanted to be part of a collaborative effort, and I always have been. And as you probably know, it becomes a little problematic when trying to find the right relationship with fellow musicians. If it's not a good working relationship, then you won't last in that group, right? It's an unfortunate truth. But you need to find people who you can work well with and gel with. And that's ultimately why I love where I'm at right now with Skullsplitter and you guys, because we all work together, we compromise, and when we don't compromise, we butt heads a little bit, but we don't hold it against each other. We get over it very quickly, and as a result, we've come up with some not 100% unique music by any stretch, right? It's not game-changing, but it's fun, and it's interesting enough to persevere through and actually work on.
Yeah, I agree to that.
Yeah, so that's a pretty big, long-winded introduction to ourselves. Hopefully we're not missing anything. It'd be nice one day to get Dylan and Trevor, who are both in the chat right now, it'd be nice to get them both onto the podcast at one point so that they can tell their story as well. I think that's all I can really add as far as my musical background. As far as production background, I worked in radio for many years, which is actually kind of funny because this reminds me of my old radio days. I always used to remember the saying, "You've got a face for radio." So I'm pretty sure I've got a face for radio, but I'm on the screen. That's the only major difference. And I did produce albums for quite a few years at many studios around town, and also a studio that I ran myself. And I've kind of decided to step back from the whole producer scene. It takes its toll. It's not as fun as being in a band and being on the stage and taking the spotlight. The whole producer thing can get very stressful very quick, and it's nice to take a little step back from that, I think.
So I gotta add something here. Like, you guys gotta know my audition with you guys. So I drive to this place. It was in your studio. I enter, great big place, all the gear is looking awesome. I played the best jam place ever. We played, and then you guys say, "Well, you want to be in the band?" I say, "Yeah." And then you say, "Well, you gotta help us tear down the studio."
Yeah, we had you tearing down all of the sound treatment that day.
And then times. We ended up practicing in a crematorium. So, but yeah, that's
okay.
That
so
was pretty...
this show is going to be kind of like a 3-segment format. We've both discussed this off air, but it's going to be a work in progress. But for today, the first thing I think we're going to do is we're going to go talk about mainstream metal and go into any news articles that have come across the grapevine. And I'd like to start with the first interesting piece of news. For any Original 4 thrash fans out there, we have an interesting development in the world of Megadeth. And Dave Mustaine, longtime Dean guitar user, has moved on from Dean guitars, and he is moving to the more familiar, and funnily enough, I've used the word mainstream already, the more mainstream Gibson guitars, which actually came as quite a shock to me. I heard this in conversation with friends, and I've since looked into it. There's good reasons behind it. Obviously, it's always going to be personal preference, but I think there's also a lot of endorsement problems. He probably wasn't happy with his contract. But the article that I was reading here goes thus. Megadeth guitarist and vocalist Dave Mustaine appears to be splitting with Dean Guitars and partnering with Gibson. Mustaine has been partners with Dean since 2006, and he was also with ESP before that. A full announcement regarding Mustaine's Gibson partnership is expected on February 23rd, so that's tomorrow. So we won't know the full details, but I was thinking it was an interesting topic as fans of Megadeth for us to kind of go into a little bit of a discussion on what we think as fans of Dave Mustaine and what we think to this decision. So do you have any thoughts on the matter?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, in the end, I think it's a business thing, right? So it's all the behind the scenes thing. So probably Gibson was looking for a strong new mascot, you know what I mean? And they basically they went all in, right? They got Dave Mustaine. So it's probably a big deal both for Gibson. It's probably a huge investment for Gibson. It's probably, I mean, for the campaign and everything they got to put in. And for Dave, well, it's a kind of an image change also, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And it gives the opportunity for him to come back in the light for something more positive. We know he had health issues, recently, and it's every time we hear about Dave, shout out to Dave. And for Gibson, we know Gibson had some problems, right? Like they had a lot of controversy. They got bad guitars, and it's saying the CEO, I think, was saying shady shit. So they both, So I think it's going to help Gibson more than Dave. But I can't wait to see I can't wait to see which kind of model he will pick. And Gibson is very dear to my heart. I have one tattooed on my arm. My first real guitar was a Les Paul 73. I auditioned with you guys with that guitar, and
just another way that
I always love. Yeah, man, I always loved Gibson, the sound. I mean, I still play death metal with my Gibson. It's an antiquity, It's a 73 model, so it's got to be retired. But man, it's still my favorite guitar. It's probably always will be. So yeah, I'm pretty. I like that news. I thought it was refreshing. Yeah.
My favorite guitar is also my Gibson Les Paul. I also have an SG special, which is kind of my journeyman guitar. But my Les Paul is the first real, as you said, first real guitar that I got. Because before that I'd had nothing but like Ibanez Geos and Squires and stuff. So to actually get my hands on a true American-made Gibson Les Paul, it was a 1960s reissue of the classic model. So it's got like the classic pickguard and whatnot. But I remember when I got that guitar, I sat with it around my neck, staring into the mirror for like days. I just loved the way it looked around.
Man, there's something about a first real guitar, and the first show I did was with that guitar at 10. I did my first show, I was 10 years old, and after that I did at least 4 or 5 shows a year. Even at school, we played in front of the 6th graders, and I had that Les Paul. And years after that, when I was 25 and playing semi-professionally in some of the best venues in Montreal, I had the Gibson in my hands, and so many memories with the guitar. And I got for the first time, I think she's now 40 plus years. I brought her to get tuned up, and she didn't really need much, but it just felt nice to see her sparkle and shine.
Oh, so, yeah. My Les Paul has had some war wounds. She had her headstock snap twice.
Fuck.
Yeah, and I remember when the first time I had it repaired. It was repaired at a Long and McQuaid, and the guy who repaired it said, "Yeah, these guitars are notorious for this happening, especially if they so much as fall, like even if you just drop it a few inches off the ground, the impact usually results in a clean break," which it did. It was a very clean break, very interesting. And so he told me because of that, it is now stronger than it was when it came out of the factory, which I thought was like, okay, he's just telling me that to make me feel better. And because lo and behold, about 6 months later, it's my own fault. I had it leaned up against a couch, and my cat went in behind and knocked it over flat on its face, and the break came open again. And it's funny because it's not broken since, but it's also because I've actually made sure I look after it since then. Like
yeah.
the saying, "Fool me once, shame on me. Fool me twice, shame on you." No, fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on you. It's the same thing, but break my guitar once.
Yeah.
Shame on you, guitar repair guy. Break it again, shame on me. So at that point, I had no choice but to make sure I was looking after it. I basically retired it, and I no longer use it live. I use it predominantly as a studio guitar. But we're getting a little off topic. So my thoughts on the endorsement is that it's pretty much a marketing move. I don't think he would have done it unless his contract with Dean was up. So I would imagine that his contract with Dean was over, and they just were not able to come to an agreement with him. And he's naturally moved on to Gibson, not just because the price was probably right, but also because of the star power of the brand. And it'd be interesting. So Trevor, go on.
Sorry, no, I was just gonna say, imagine you picture yourself. I come from a business background, so I always think about these things. Imagine you're the agent of Dave Mustaine, and you're gonna go shopping, and you call these companies. Listen, I'm the agent of Dave, and you say, Dave who? Dave fucking Mustaine, that's who. And you we want this, we want this, we want that, we want a custom, whatever they want. Basically, they went shopping around, and Gibson had that's with who they made the negotiation. Obviously, like you said, it's got to be some kind of a personal preference. He wouldn't have gone with any guitar. Gibson. It is a powerhouse still, even with all the the bad rap they had in the past years. But no, man, actually, because can you name me 3 other guitarists in metal with Gibson right now, like off the top of your head? There's not many.
Does Zakk Wylde count?
I guess, yeah.
Okay. Does I guess it doesn't really count, but Mark from Lamb of God, I know he records with Gibson, but he doesn't play live with Gibson.
And Slash, like Slash, but the point is, these are all guys that have been with Gibson like forever. Like, there's no new news about, hey, like this new hot metal guitarist is with Gibson. Like, you don't hear now. We know all the brands now that they go for. Kiesel, Jackson, all the metal, already the metal brands. So Gibson,
I know a band for them that uses Gibson that you don't particularly care for. Ghost.
Next topic.
Yeah. So
go ahead.
The interesting thing for me though about this story is the type of guitar. What shape is he going to go with? Because he's typically kind of a V sort of guy, right? It's like all his Deans are Vs. So there is the flying V, but it makes me wonder: are Gibson going to work with him on making an actual signature? Because that would be amazing. Because there's not very many. There is no signature Gibsons. It's you've got the Explorer, the V, the Les Paul, the SG, and all of the different cutaway variants of those guitars. That's it.
Pretty much.
Yeah, there is no signature models beyond the individual player signatures of those models. So I think this would be, personally for Gibson, I think this would be a prime time to take advantage of Dave Mustaine's stature and actually go ahead and work with him to make a new design.
I'm sorry, I agree, but in the end, they gotta stay somewhat classic. They're not gonna make like a fucking Morlock looking Gibson,
No.
It's probably gonna be a V or Explorer type is what I'm thinking. It's gonna be a pointy one. I think
I'd like to see him switch to an Explorer. That would be cool to see him with an Explorer, but it's probably gonna be a V. Like Trevor just mentioned.
Yeah, he can't go with Explorer with.
He just mentioned the V with an Explorer headstock. Yeah. So like if you had the V with an Explorer headstock, that would be different. What would that? Because it would be a V, but like not with the sort of like the triangular headstock that you usually see with a V, but the angled headstock of the Explorer. That would be technically a different model. It would be hybrid.
And you know what? That should be another. That should be another show. Gear Talk with Gearhead Trev.
Yeah.
He's the gear dude.
Well, we might have an episode which is exclusively about gear. But it's definitely an interesting wrinkle. It's a very interesting wrinkle in the metal scene, and like I say, given the fact that he was so long with brands like ESP and Dean, to be settling on the classic brand of Gibson is a very, very interesting development. And it's going to be strange. It's going to be strange seeing him on stage with a Gibson. I'd love to see him with a Les Paul personally. I think I think it'd be crazy.
We'll see. So what else you got in your news bag?
All right. Well, I want to stick to mainstream again, and there's quite a few developments in the world of metal this week, but I wanted to stay positive. And we know there's a Cannibal Corpse album coming out, and we're both Cannibal Corpse fans.
Yeah.
We're both old school death metal
Yes,
fans, and so this I thought would be a good discussion point for us. And there's actually been a statement released by the drummer of Cannibal Corpse that this album, you are to expect the most intense drumming performance yet from him. And I'm just like thinking that's obviously hyperbole, because I mean we're talking Cannibal Corpse here. And of course that's what fans of Cannibal Corpse want to hear. Whether or not it's true, well, we'll be the judges of that once we hear it. And we have heard a sample, but it's going to be it's going to be interesting to see if he really follows through with that. So the article reads: Cannibal Corpse is gearing up to release their new album, Violence Unimagined. What a typical name for a Cannibal Corpse album. I find it to be a little bit subdued by their standards. Maybe it's because they're getting older and they're getting wiser.
They're the AC/DC of death metal, man.
Yeah,
they're always going to have that type of artwork and those type of titles and that type of death metal.
Exactly. So this is why I refer to him as the Cannibal Corpse drummer, because I don't want to screw up his name. Paul Mazurkiewicz. Is that correct?
Perfect.
Okay, he says this album will showcase his most intense drumming performance physically. He also added that at 52 years old, playing Cannibal Corpse music certainly isn't getting any easier, though he's still making every effort to stay healthy and keep a good practice regime. So I think that's just hyperbole for the purposes of amping up and hyping people up for the album. We will know once we hear it whether or not it's true. I'm just happy to be getting some more Cannibal Corpse.
Oh man, me too. And speaking about that dude, I watched a few videos of his, like drum interviews, and he's very humble, and he always been like, he says, I'm not the perfect death metal drummer. He said, I'm the perfect drummer for Cannibal Corpse. Like he said, like even when he imagine when he started, 30 years ago, like there weren't that many references to look upon, so he pretty much built that those kind of techniques with Slay, with Lombardo from Slayer and all these dudes. And basically, of course, now he looks to the kids playing, all these crazy technical death metal, and he's not gonna do that. He's not gonna do that. But what does that article mean? Yeah, probably that means he pushed himself to the max to try to deliver something that he can be proud of it. I mean, if they put it in an article, it's probably, I guess it would be true.
Well, it's not like he's not going to come out and say, like, this is the worst drumming I've ever done. I'm getting old and I can't play anymore. Right? So,
But the other big...
Continue.
Go ahead.
This delay, I hate it. No, you go ahead.
I don't know. I'm too hyped now. I thought you were going to talk about Eric Rutan. I thought that was the big news, but that's older news. But that's another big point of that album is Eric Rutan is now officially, official member of Cannibal Corpse, and that was the last show I seen. With Trevor was there also, and before all the COVID shit, and basically seeing Eric Rutan with Cannibal Corpse was a treat. I mean, what a legend Rutan, and now it seems like he really has his place there. Mm-hmm. And I mean, there's a lot of hype for the album. I think everyone's excited about Rutan, and who doesn't like another Cannibal Corpse album? Usually they're very polarizing. Whatever happens, the album will get a lot of talk, whether it's good, whether it's bad. And I can't wait for sure.
Yeah, the last time I saw them live was 2014, unfortunately, and I missed, because of the lineup, I missed the opening 3 or 4 songs of the set. So I'm definitely getting a little bit cabin feverish and really excited to get back to going out to shows again when and if and when that happens. Because it's interesting, a lot of bands have utilized this time to actually get material out, right?
Mhm.
They've all been spending their lockdown time being productive and making albums. But usually, when you're a touring band, you produce an album, you then tour with it. So it's going to be interesting to see how a lot of these bands, specifically Cannibal Corpse, actually how they act on the release of this album without the ability to play live. Like, what are they going to do? How are they going to promote it?
That's super interesting, but I mean, even myself now, I'm starting to look shows that all these Slay at Home series, like from Metal Injection, for example. They do this interesting, show, interesting performances where they gather up musicians from all bands. And I mean, that's the new standard. Live shows. I mean, I paid for a few already. I'm going to be paying for some more. There was Gate Creeper, I think last Friday. You got local bands doing it. You got bigger bands doing it. And for now, that's what they can do. And although it's has nothing like being to a show, of course, and going to a pit, I'm still happy to see some performances, to see them play, and that's the best we can do right now. So I don't know, like you said, they might do a little performance, streamed and stuff like that. But touring an album, I think this for every band, this is going to be the albums that they won't ever tour, and they will tour the next one. I think I heard a few bands saying that already.
Well, let's hope, right? I just wanted to give a quick shout out to Super Joshio, who just gave me a follow. He says, "Howdy, my buddy Trevor said to check you out." Well, your buddy Trevor is also my buddy Trevor. He's our bandmate. So I'm very, very glad that you came by and checked it out. I'm very much appreciative of you being here. Where basically this is a Monday afternoon podcast in which we talk about heavy metal because we're metalheads and we love that sort of stuff. So yeah, stick around and hopefully we can bring some quality content to you. So I think that's probably as much as we can really talk about on Cannibal Corpse touring albums and whatnot. It's probably a good chance to actually to give ourselves a little bit of a shameless plug. We're not releasing anything, but we have just finished working on a demo with 3 songs from Skullsplitter. And I'm not sure if we want to play that today. What do you think? Do you think we maybe treat everybody at the end of the show?
Let me see the production notes. No, I don't see that in there.
It's not in the production notes, but hey,
yeah, sure, man. It could,
I think it's probably
it could
a good
be
idea
our intro or outro song.
I think we should go for an outro with we should do Dumpster Fire as an outro. Yeah, so Super Joshua wants us to play it. So the chat wins. So we'll probably outro the show with that. For now, that's probably a good chance to segue onto our third segment, and this is the indie metal band segment. We essentially what we're going to do in this segment moving forward is we're going to showcase local bands from all across Canada, local independent bands who haven't really hit the mainstream yet. And Phil, being the metal connoisseur that he is, has brought us already the first suggestions for today's show. And I think, without further ado, we're just going to get into this first band. The band is called... I got to get up my production notes again here. They are called Leprosys. And,
yes, sir.
And what's the song called, Phil?
Well, we're going to go with Crionic off their first LP. So let's give it a listen, and then I'll tell you all about them.
All right. Here we go. Okay, that was So that was way more up my street. I just want to just address the chat real quick. Please refrain from any sound alerts while we're playing the songs, just out of respect for the bands. Yes. Okay. So that's quite more up my street, I would say. Not that I'm not a fan of Hatalom by any stretch, but I was really digging the vibe of that song. It kind of tone-wise reminded me of Lamb of God a little bit.
Really?
Yeah.
What else?
Not vocally at all, but just like the guitar tone really made me think of Lamb of God.
The tone.
And I also could really see us playing with those guys. Like I could see Skullsplitter on the same bill, and that would be one hell of a show if you ask me. I don't have a lot to say on the composition side of things. That's why I compare them to us. It's good old fashioned, just decent, melodic, straight to the point, driving metal. It's big thumbs up for me, I'd say.
Leprosys. They're from Sherbrooke, Quebec, man. It's old school death metal, man. I thought you were gonna say death. This is death.
No.
Death and.
I don't
hey
see,
man,
I
this
don't
is
see
death
death
in 2021.
Yeah, I don't see death.
Man, this is death and obituary in 2021.
I'm just gonna update the album cover out there in the chat.
I mean, I saw these guys like 2 years ago. They were opening up for a six band show, and I couldn't fucking believe it. And it was amazing. And this can you believe is their first LP. This to me does not sound like anyway, you just heard one song, but I mean, I listened to the album a few times. It does not sound like a first record. It sounds like a band who's putting out like their fifth fucking record.
Yeah, they sound
insane.
very, very experienced. Like they had a vision. That's what I was trying to say when I said it's not like a huge compositional endeavor. It's not like they're not proggy or anything, which is why I don't really think it was like death at all. But it was you could tell that the vision behind it was concrete. The guys who were involved with that band know what they want. They know what they're going for, and they know the sound that they want to replicate for people. And that's what I really digged about it. It just it just felt, I don't know, real, visceral.
You listen to the full album. To me, it's like death with obituary vocals mostly. But anyway, it's. I might get crucified for this. Feel free. You know, I'm not the biggest death fan, and you never hear that on the streets because people are gonna get beat up. But I am in Suriname, so you're never gonna find me. I'm in the jungle. But yeah, I'm not. But this I really love, and there's so many dynamics. There's so many treats in this album. Track 3 starts screaming like Angel of Death, like Slayer. It's the same. Same opening, and
like the King Diamond style.
Yeah, exactly. And there's some nods to legends there. And obviously, it's a very you hear this band and it makes you reminisce on the old stuff. But they got all sorts of treats in there. I mean, track 7, they got a harmonica solo, but like a dude, seriously.
Yeah, I want to do that.
It's all over the place.
Yeah, I've mentioned many times that because I play the harmonica. I've mentioned many times I want a harmonica solo in a metal song. I just wanted to say real quick. Then I feel like I need to sample the rest of this album then, because to me I got the impression that they're trying to replicate past music. I don't want to step out because I know you with your genres. I don't want to say old school necessarily, but it did feel like they were taking a lot of older styles, but they were doing a very good job of bringing it into the modern era. Like it sounded modern. It was like vintage composition, modern sound, and that I really respect that because that's what I feel like we're going for with Skullsplitter.
Yeah, exactly. But they self-proclaim it sounds like death, it sounds like obituary. And for me personally, when I first heard it live, that's what I thought. I said, that's the new death. Maybe you listen to one song one time, but listen to the whole album. I'm sure
I definitely need to listen to the whole album. Could you get the relevant information in the side chat for me, please?
Yeah. I will do. I'll just finish the description. I don't want to forget this here. I was at the last track for the first minute and a half. is a guitar solo. How cool is that? Who does this?
Well, I mean, as a guitar player, you're obviously going to say that.
No, but it's like they don't give a fuck. This is last track.
It's
I'm
rock
gonna
and roll
for a minute and a half. Fuck y'all.
Yeah.
And that's how I'm gonna end my album. I mean, it's full of surprises, and I can't believe their first album is so on par. I'm gonna segue to you. I'm gonna name the guys, and I'm gonna post their link. You got Samuel Robert on guitars and vocals. You got Anthony Boutin on guitars, Jonathan Côté on drums, and Julien Dupont on bass. And these guys are young, man. I don't know how young they are, but they are younger than us two for sure.
Oh yeah.
And this album is called Obnoxious Futuristic Vision. It was released on PRC Music. That's a Quebec local label. They got a lot of good bands on there. It was released on October 16, 2020. Okay, so this one was a few months ago, but I thought it was a good idea to start the show. We got Leprosys from Quebec who put out this great record a few months ago, and you got Hatalom who's gonna release their album in March. And I think with this show, we're gonna try to showcase bands from all across Canada. Obviously, you invited me to,
and we don't need. They don't need to be recent releases either. Like, if it's something that you think people need to hear that not everyone's heard, then bring it to the show. So like, it's not an issue at all that this was released last year, because I'd never heard of these guys until you brought them to me, and I'm very thankful now to have heard of them, because I want to go get this album. I want to have this album playing for my next Skip the Dishes shift. It sounds like great driving music to me.
No, for sure.
Hello, it is I, Michael, from the future. Due to unforeseen circumstances when we were filming this episode, we actually got Leprosys and Hatalom mixed up. So without further ado, here is Hatalom's Negentropy.
tech debt is really blooming now in Quebec, and you got a lot of good tech debt acts, and Hatalom is one of them. You got, I'm gonna name the dudes. So you got Romano Kiss Rabata on guitars. You got Hubert Gagné on guitars. You got the incredible Seb Verret on bass. He's also playing for other bands such as The Flaying out of Quebec City. Amazing band. William Rousseau on drums, and you got Anthony Caron on vocals. And basically, they had an LP out EP out in 2018, and this is their first full length. And I mean, this is the first single, man. It's insane. What you thought of that?
Well, before I give you my thoughts, can you plug them? Give out their Facebook info in the side chat, and then I'll go on to my thoughts.
Yeah, sure.
Share their Facebook groups and everything. You can do it in the side chat. So my thoughts are, holy crap, you Quebecois guys know how to fucking bang. Like, that was holy shit. And what a journey. Like, seldom do you ever find these days an independent group put out a 7-minute song like that, and it keeps you hooked the entire time. Like, I could not believe just how much of a journey that song took me on. Like, the ending, for instance, I felt like, wait, are we still listening to the same song here? And not in a bad way. Almost like it was this medley, or even I could imagine that as a theme music for a song. For a movie. It was as Dylan said in the chat. It was, in a word, epic. The vocal style was interesting. It was good. It wasn't what I was expecting. When you hear the first notes of the song, I kind of felt like he had a little bit of a black metal vibe, a little bit of that gargoyle sort of like feeling. And so, not that it doesn't fit, it fits. It fit perfectly. It was unexpected. Guitar tone. I'd love to know what tuning they're playing in, because it felt like it was pretty low tuning, but I don't think it was. It was D standard, right?
No. I'm sure they're lower than that. I'm sure Romano can clarify that to me. But definitely I think they're experimenting with a lot of stuff there. I mean, they're listed on Metal Archives as tech deathcore. I don't feel the deathcore that much. No. I do. It's tech death, and for me, it's a little proggy by, especially towards that second half of the song.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there's so many things that this reminds me of, but in a good way. Like when they start these arpeggios at past the 4-minute mark, like, to me that brings me back like Necrophagist vibes. Like,
hell yeah.
Super clean arpeggios, and it's like, sometimes I was listening to the song and doing something else, and when this part comes, I'm like, oh fuck yeah, says what a treat. There's solos here and there. I mean, I wouldn't even know where to start learning that shit. You know what I mean? Like,
there's way too much sweeping in there for me. Like, I wouldn't be able to play it at all. So, they lose me at the sweeps. I love sweeps, but I just cannot perform them at all.
I mean, these dudes are incredible, and everyone in Quebec is very, in Canada, but especially in Quebec, very, very excited for the full record. It will drop on March 19th, and basically you can already pre-order on Bandcamp. If you pay $8, you get the digital copy. That's fine. But if you pay $15, you get the CD. Okay, that's fine. If you pay $30, you get CD, a shirt, and 2 guitar picks with the 2 guitarists' face on the picks.
How much is that?
That's for $30. You get a CD, a shirt, and 2 guitar picks.
That's a pretty good deal.
I already asked him. That's insane. And I already asked Romano what the picks are. He says they're 1.5 millimeter jazz jumbo. So for your fun fact, he plays with 2 millimeters. So
holy shit.
We had a talk this week. We had a talk this week about guitar picks, and like he said, the pick doesn't make the artist, but the master. But and I'm not done. If you pay $50, Michael, you get a CD, a hoodie, and 2 picks. So you switch up the shirt for a hoodie.
I like the hoodie.
But what you gotta do, Mike, what you gotta do is you gotta pay $65 because you'll get a CD, the shirt, the hoodie, and the two picks. Boom, $65. And the, obviously you saw that artwork, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's amazing. I mean, these everything is stepped up there. They stepped up the music, they stepped up the tone from their EP, the artwork. They even got a slightly different logo, if I'm not mistaken. They're really geared up to blow up. I mean, these guys are really at the forefront of tech debt in the country and in the world, I think.
Well, and I also think, I've just brought the album art up real quick. I also believe that they we need to be talking to their marketing department,
Yeah.
getting them involved, because that is some good bundles. Is that what we want to call it? I honestly
sure.
don't have the money, but I want the hoodie. I want the hoodie so bad. I want the album more than anything. Well, what can you tell me about that the song we just listened to? Is that the first single?
Yeah, that's the first single. Right now, there's only one song available, Negentropy, and yeah, you can see the titles of the remaining tracks. I do not know if they will drop another single before the album date, but yeah, March 19 is when everything will drop, and basically, yeah, can't wait. And I mean, we've been talking about. Yeah, I think that's one of the goals of our podcast, if I may mention it. We, there's scenes in Montreal there's a scene in the West, and we really would like the bands to exchange more throughout the country. I think now, of course, with COVID now, the touring and all that is not possible, but we need more tech debt out west, man. That's what I've been trying to say, and I think that these guys are. I would love to have them out west.
Well, and it's important to note as well that our band Skullsplitter, do have aspirations to become a little bit more technical, but we could never be at those levels. I don't think.
Nah.
It is nice to start to see some more bands in that category. There's an old death metal band from Canada called Neuroxis, who are not around anymore. There was Death Toll Rising, they're not around anymore. So it definitely resonates with me when you say that we don't have enough of this out here. So
Mm-hmm.
hey, well, once COVID's over, let's see if we can get these guys out here, because I want to go to a live show. I want to be one of the first people in the pit once COVID is done for Hatalom.
For sure.
I can't say enough good things about that song. I believe I'm gonna have to go listen to it again a few more times off air. I only listened to it the once before, and I kind of threw myself a little bit off guard with my little gaff, my little mistake there. But that being said, the next band is queued up and ready to go. So as soon... Thanks, Dylan. We just got a Lego Yoda death sound. Just completely sums up that mistake. So do you have anything else you want to discuss about Hatalom before we move on?
Yeah, I'm just gonna say this. I mean, this song to me, it's like I've been listening to it a dozen times, and it feels like an album in one song. There's so much going on, and every time you listen, you'll find out more. So the whole album is probably gonna blow everyone out. But without further ado, you want to go in with Leprosys?
Well, I just wanted to say that that's kind of what I felt when I used the word journey to describe how I felt from that song. I felt like it took me on a journey. There was so many sights to see along the way in that 7-minute sample, and it's probably a very smart choice from them to release that as a single, as you say, because it's sort of like showcases their entire album. You listen to that song, and then you know what you're gonna be. You know what you're gonna be in for moving forward.
Hell yeah,
So,
for sure.
hey, hosers from Stevie Ray Bob. How's it going? Thanks for joining us.
Hey, that's my dad.
Oh, it is. Hey, how's it going, Bob?
That's his nickname.
Yeah, Dylan, thanks.
Dad, are you writing something?
I'm aware about the it saying I'm playing Mass Effect. That's just Twitch. It's not. Like, the information is updated to Metal Mondays with MTJ Disorder and Phil Rock. So Twitch is just kind of twitchy like that. So don't worry about it. Okay, so yeah, I guess we'll move on. Quick
Man,
quick
it's
shout
awesome.
out, quick shout out to your old man Bobby. Gave me a follow. Always happy to have someone. Every time that recent follow tab at the top changes and updates, it makes my day, and every follow helps. I just wanted to let everybody know that there is a donation button if you feel like you want to donate to the stream. You can also use your bits to get your comments highlighted if you want to ask us a question or anything like that. We're probably not going to deal with any questions today, with this being our first show. But if you do have any questions, now's the time to start throwing them in there. If you want to ask us anything about ourselves, about the podcast, or anything about the bands that we've showcased tonight, and. I'm getting a face pull from Phil. What's that mean? Don't do that. I hate it when you look at me that way.
No, it's just. No, man. I'm hyped. I'm hyped. I'm so happy to talk about metal. Let's do this every day.
Well, I have followers who expect me to play Mass Effect. So, as much as I'd love to talk about metal every day, I do have to play games for the faithful. Otherwise, yeah, my followers might start abandoning me. But
Cool.
with that being said, it is a good time to point out that yeah, we will be doing this every Monday. It won't always necessarily be Phil on board if you have to be away or if you're absent for any reason. I will be bringing guests in the future, and also we will be bringing special guests. You want to bring? I would love to have some of the guys from Leprosys or Hatalom on the stream. To be honest,
I seriously, I think that's the plan. For Leprosys, I mean, he made his own custom guitar, or I've seen his on his pictures. He's built this crazy looking guitar, and I think that would be a good episode to talk gear with him. I know how to make guitars and stuff like that. And definitely Hatalom, once they release their album on March 19th, love to have these guys on also for sure. Talk about, review the full album, listen to the full album, and kind of give a second spin for sure.
they do know that we're showcasing them tonight, right?
They didn't reply me. I'm kidding, of course. Yeah. I talked to Romano of Hatalom and Samuel of Leprosys this week, and these guys, they're sweethearts. They're happy. They like us. They're metalheads, man. They love metal. Play my song. Talk about me. I will support you. You support me. I'll be on your show. Whatever. It's so far every band that I've talked to, they've been really positive about this. Even if it's our first show, even if we're from the West, we're technically fucking Anglos. I'm kidding. Yeah. I'm joking.
I have a quick question. To you, because you have the outside perspective. When it comes to metal out west here, what do you think is the most predominant style of metal out here?
Well, man, it's crazy because great question. In Montreal, it's always been about getting more technical. Since Gorguts put out Luc Lemay, shout out, legend in Quebec, and Crionic, these guys, they pretty much invented tech debt as we know it. Bands kept on piling on technicality. So now you go to a show in Quebec and unless it's a special black metal night, you'll hear a lot of tech debt. And the bands that are pushing forward, even with their image marketing, it's really tech debt. I feel it's kind of the sound of Montreal still. Out west, man, it's kind of vintage, man. I feel like you got a lot of trash. You even have power metal, classic heavy metal. Okay, you do have tech debt out west. I'm not gonna say you don't have some. Yeah, you do have great tech debt.
Like
Archspire. You even have. Yeah, for sure. You also have some newer styles like deathcore, but you got more. I feel like there's more bands, playing classic styles out west than in the east. So to me, that's the main difference.
The interesting thing about out here, especially in this province, is there's a lot of bands. There's a lot of metalcore bands. right? But there's not very many. There's not very many people showing up to metalcore shows out here. That's the interesting wrinkle on that. So we've got lots of people making metalcore bands like Ravage Red, Trevor and Josh in the chat have been trying to get a metalcore band going for years now. Although Josh is now the front man, he's a lead singer of a metalcore band. Could you do me a favor, Josh, if you're still in the chat? Could you plug that real quick? Give us a link, or just give us the name. But I do find that metalcore is quite popular in the local scene as far as the performers, the musicians, and the bands. But there's not very many people out there wanting to go watch it. I find most people want to watch the power metal and the thrash metal, like bands like Skepsis. And who else do we have?
Apollo Spitfire, our boys from Apollo.
They're like punk and thrash.
Yeah, the crossover.
Yeah, and we've also got I'm drawing a blank on the name, but my friend Stefan Senna, it's his band, and Sin McCready. Oh, what are they called? But we've got Dylan's friends' bands, Rising Sun. They're kind of like a power metal band. Yeah. It's a lot of thrash and power metal out here with some old school death metal. That's what I usually find.
Yeah.
And so it would be nice.
That's true.
It would be nice to showcase some of our local talent out here as well. But the funny thing is when you think about metal scenes in Canada, Quebec is where it's at. The biggest scene is Quebec.
I mean, yeah, no, for sure. It goes with the number of people also, and the number of live venues. There's a lot of venues. There's a lot of it's been around forever, but there's great metal everywhere, and that's the purpose of the show. And I feel that's something that we didn't explain properly. First, you just wanted to invite me for one episode or something, and you told me, you're the guy from Quebec. I was born and raised South Shore, Montreal. You told me present some Quebec bands, but now that we think we'll do this every week, I definitely want to spread out provinces. At the end of the show, I'll mention a band that I'll feature next week out of Toronto. The other one will be out of Alberta. For sure, I'll make sure we present bands from across Canada. That's the goal. That's kind of the goal of this show, and also of our new Facebook group created by our drummer, dynamic drummer Dylan. It is called Canadian. We changed the name.
Canadian Metal Brotherhood.
What's the new name? Canadian Metal Brotherhood.
Yeah.
So listen, brother. Go join the Brotherhood.
Yeah, I'm gonna just share the group in the chat real quick. The band I was referring to, by the way, was Tessitura, another old school.
Tessitura, fuck yeah.
But I think it's interesting because it's probably a good place to start wrapping things up, because we just got a request from your dad for some Skullsplitter, so some old school death metal with thrash elements. So before we move on to that, if you've got any final thoughts, I think now's the time for that.
I mean, did you want to talk about what you listened this week?
A little bit. Yeah, give me what you've listened to.
I mean, you know what? The guys, our fans will get to know us as we advance. But I'm more of an old school death metal kind of guy. I love me some tech. I love me some black metal. But I go everywhere. But usually I stick to old school death metal. But this week I went descending in the black metal realm. And I started with Demon King, who's a band of Malcolm Pugh of Inferi. Shout out Inferi. And basically they put out an EP called The Final Tyranny on February 12th. It's a blackened tech death. And it's an incredible EP, man. You got to listen to that. So everything blackened is where I'm at. And then I started to listen more like melodic black metal.
Like Funeral Mass.
Mixing elements of, exactly, man. Mixing, to me, just black metal, I'm not so big, but you put a little black, it's like a spice. You put a little black in the melodic death metal or in old school death metal or with tech, and I love it. So yeah, I listen to a lot of bands like there's this band Stortrain. It's a Swedish word. Of course, I'm fucking it up, but basically they put out their third single out today. This is amazing. I'll post in the chat some bands for for people to follow. If you like your old school In Flames at the Gates, but blackened, and this is for you. And next week, before you, since you're so in a hurry to wrap it up, I'm kidding. Next week, we'll have a melodic black metal band. It's a one-man band. It's a solo project from a band called Malice Divine. So next week I'm out of Toronto. So next week I'm really eager to show that to you guys. And the other band is a surprise out of our own Alberta. And other than that, cue in some Skullsplitter.
Well, first I'm going to tell you who I've been listening to. I've been not listening to much new stuff, although I've been listening all week to the new album Unconquered by Cataclysm. So they don't really need much of an introduction.
More Quebec.
Yeah. Also, a band Gorophilia. Do you know who they are?
I heard the name. I don't know.
Their new album.
I couldn't help you.
Yeah, their new album "In the Eye of Nothing" is something I've been listening to. I'll probably share that in our band chat for you later on. But cool. Yeah, it's a lot of, again, more kind of old school tech death, old school / tech death. Also, Funeral Mass. I'm so glad that you reminded me of those guys, because they were pretty much the soundtrack to my Skip the Dishes shift yesterday.
Nice.
Yeah. But I'm wondering what we're going to queue up. Are we going to queue up the music video to go take us out? I think that's probably the best way to go. Because it's a request from the chat, I don't have it ready to go, so I need to go just grab it off of YouTube. It's probably the easiest.
Perfect.
Yeah,
and guys, if you have upcoming albums you want us to talk about, bands, feel free to send recommendations. Next Friday we have Veterans Evergrey putting out their 12th LP. I'm surely going to listen to that. You got
Tech Death 86 just gave us a follow. Thanks very much, man. Glad to have you on board.
So yeah, Evergrey next Friday, a new record. Darkened, their first LP next Friday, as well as Summoning the Lich, first long full album Friday. So I believe I might be talking about those guys also on the next episode.
Alrighty, and I think if you do have any suggestions, you can send it to phil_rock@hotmail.com. You can throw that in the side chat, or you can send it to my email, which you will find in my about section below. But I've got the music video queued up here and ready to go. So without further ado, let's open up a window for that. Window capture, good old OBS. Where are we at? I think what I'm going to have to do, guys, is I'm going to have to do a display capture, which means you're going to get this crazy, weird Inception effect right away. So just prepare yourselves for this. If you are prone to seizures, you might want to look away. But here we go. All right. This is Dumpster Fire by Skullsplitter. The music video is put together by our very own Trevor, and also he was the producer of the song in question. So here we are. But thanks very much for watching, guys. We will be going live again next Monday for another episode of Metal Mondays. And until then, you guys have a great one.
2020, not exactly a time traveler's top pick. Yes, it was challenging. Yes, it was weird. And yes, it felt endless. But according to Time magazine, 2020 blew all other rotten years out of the park. For Time, it was the worst year ever. Time to fear that it's not to reject. Which superstar they are going to select. When it's